Hello guys, Yami Yusaku here today, and we're going to be talking about Shark and Quattro's duel in the final Baryon Onslaught arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. Now, my belief in this duel is it's very difficult to justify Shark's win over Quattro given all the circumstances that have occurred. Looking at where both of them are mentally before the duel, which we know that plays a really big part in the anime, Shark is coming from someone who has just switched sides in this major war that decides the fate of three worlds. And in doing so, he's had to abandon all of his friends and allies that we've seen him develop with throughout the series and that helped open him into a better person, which include Yuma and Quattro, who's currently become his opponent, versus Quattro, who's opened up and developed into a much better person, including tagging Shark as his best friend, at least in the dub of the anime, and he's fighting to get Shark back from that, versus Shark, who's fighting on the side of destruction, seeking to conquer the human world to some extent and destroy Astral World outright. So that's that vengeful behavior that we've seen cost even our main protagonist's wins in the past, such as when Yami Yugi's dueling against Raphael in the original Duel Monsters Waking the Dragons arc. Yami allows his rage and his desire for vengeance to consume him, so he plays the Seal of Orichalcos, and that anger completely takes over. He's making reckless, super aggressive moves, and it ends up costing him the duel. The same series of events nearly happens to Yuma earlier in Zexal itself, when he's dueling against Dark Mist, and he lets the darkness within him take over. You know, that little bit of not trusting Astral and stuff comes back to haunt him, and that sort of evil Yuma, so to speak, that we see nearly loses against Dark Mist. It's the goodness that saves him. So if we're looking at that borderline between who wins, vengeance rarely wins in Yu-Gi-Oh! And who's on the side of vengeance right now? It's Shark. It's not Quattro. Then when coupling that with the fact that Shark's mind's got to be an absolute fustercluck at this point, unless they're completely changing his character around, because he's got this anger, this passion to defend his fellow Baryons that's going on in one side of his brain. He's got this attachment of loyalty to his human friends, like Quattro and Yuma, in another side of his brain. And they're constantly at this tug of war because they're two sides that he doesn't see a way to have coexist currently, because they are fighting each other so violently. So with that going on, would it really be super easy to duel? And given the fact that Shark's aware if he beats Quattro, Quattro will die, is that an action that after all the development we've seen him undergo, he is willing to complete? After all, this is the same duelist we're talking about that went from being a bully at school to being the same person who went out of his way to duel Kite, who is known to be aggressive and a soul snatcher, to attempt to get Yuma's ki back for him, who dueled alongside Kite and Yuma to try and stop Dr. Faker and save the Earth. And just generally, this is the same person who was protecting his sister, who did everything for his sister, yet he's outright willing to kill one of his friends in a duel. Then if we come from Quattro's side, look at the weapons he has to combat a Shark that mentally can't be at his best right now. He's got Rank Up Magic Argent's Force, which is a card nobody's seen be played before, given that Quentin just invented it and handed it to him right before the duel. And this card suddenly gives Quattro access to two Chaos number cards that we see in action. The first one is Gimmick Puppet of Dark Strings, which once per turn you can detach one XZ's material from the card to place a string counter on one face-up monster your opponent controls, and then once per turn you can destroy any and all monsters with string counters, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to their combined attack. That in and of itself is super powerful. Then you take and apply Quattro's actual ace, Chaos number 88, Gimmick Puppet Disaster Leo. When it is summoned using Gimmick Puppet of Leo, it gains these effects. Once per turn, you can detach one XZ's material from this card to inflict 4,000 damage to your opponent's life points, the total life points you begin with in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime duel. And at the end of the turn, if this card has no XZ's materials, you automatically win the duel. Those are odds I don't think most duelists in Yu-Gi-Oh! Could overcome on a good day, and Shark was clearly not going to be all there mentally from a logical perspective. So outside of needing the plot development to keep Shark around and winning duels, I see no reason that this should have been the victory it was for him. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope you enjoyed.